Welcome to Buffy Virgin, a spoiler-free Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. Make sure to rate and subscribe before we become invisible, because we're watching Season 6, Episode 11, Gone. I'm your host, cartoonist Dennis St. John, and why doesn't everyone else introduce yourself with what table you're placed at for Anya and Xander's wedding?
Hi, my name is John. I am probably going to be at table 5 in the back with Bob Sasko and Kathy Kolb.
I'm Travis, and I would not get an invite to the wedding because this person does not know me.
I'm David Yoder, and I also don't know that I would have a seat at the table because I'm not a regular here, although you may be confused because I've been on a lot of episodes recently.
I think you are a regular now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I stopped. That's why I purposely didn't introduce you as a special guest.
Well, I'm not a special guest anymore. All right. Woo!
He's part of the opening credits.
Yeah, my name's Michael. I've only seen Buffy up to season 6, episode 11, Gone. Yeah, I mean, I think like maybe put me on a table with a bunch of the relatives you didn't want to invite.
You should be on the table as a buffer between Willow and Tara, because like I can't believe they were thinking about putting them together, but I guess we'll get into that.
Yeah, maybe I could just be, I'm sure there's going to be a sacrifice of some kind at their wedding just because it's a half-demon wedding, so yeah, I'll just be the virgin sacrifice. But I'm only a Buffy virgin, guys.
Hello!
Allegedly.
So we are going to be talking about Gone, but first we're going to do reactions to Flooded.
Audience reactions.
This episode, at the time we're recording this episode only went up like 2 days ago, but we've had like very strong reactions to it, like a lot more conversation than normal, and I think it's really awesome. I'm only going to do a little clips of it, but I really do love all the back and forth that's been going on.
In regard to the confrontation between Giles and Willow, Willow's argument is very Machiavellian, and she threatens him. Well, I don't think she would hurt him. She's saying she could if he doesn't back down. Yeah, she's totally threatening him.
Yeah, saying I could threaten you, but I'm not going to. Like saying I could hurt you, but I'm not going to. That is what a threat is, right? That's like...
Could be a threat.
If it's like, I guess if you're saying I'm definitely going to murder you tomorrow, like nothing, no matter what you do,
then that's not.
I guess that's also a
promise.
Threat.
Yeah, that's a promise.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, Nasala says, I'm in agreement with Alex. Giles accepted the father role for Buffy, not Dawn or any of the other Scoobies. Certainly not to the point where he should sacrifice having any life of his own for them. He is not skipping out on anyone. Not when there are other adults, Tara, Willow, he believes to be responsible and there to look after Dawn. He immediately comes back for his daughter, Buffy, and he definitely does get to have an opinion on what happened as it directly affects Buffy, whom he never abandoned.
There's definitely more to both of their things, but I'm just trying to trim through. And Travis, why don't you read this one?
Yes, well, Priceless says, I'm with you all the way, Travis. Yes, thank you. Giles ran away and left the care of a child to a couple of college students and a carpenter. Booyah. Priceless gets it.
Yoder, why don't you read this next little bit?
I like the idea that carpenters can't take care of children.
Just a bit of trivia for you guys. Did you know Adam Bush, who plays Warren, and Amber Benson are dating and have been for like 15 years?
I didn't know that.
I feel like this is information.
Saw that though. That's crazy.
I feel like this is information I keep, like I've heard a lot of times, but it doesn't make any sense to me, so I keep erasing it from my brain, and it's new every single time.
Because you can't separate the actors from the characters.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, for me, I feel like that makes Warren and also the actor that plays him like more gross. Like, I'm sorry, but like, it's just like,
what did he do?
Weird,
use a
man.
spell? Did he use some sort of terrible spell on her?
I bet he made a robot of Amber Benson, and he like has the real Amber Benson locked up somewhere.
And Dingo Action goes full copper repipe. And over on Facebook and on different things, that was most of our comments we got back were full copper repipe or cookies. So
This is the most important meal. You should eat it 3 times a day.
All right. So thank you guys, everybody, for listening to Flooded. And now let's find out what Gone was about by listening to the summary for that.
The summary.
In Gone, a social worker shows up to check on Buffy, and she's a little disappointed.
Is Buffy a stoner or covering for one? Meanwhile, the trio fight over who gets to use the new invisibility gun and accidentally hit Buffy, who can no longer show off her new haircut. Invisible Buffy shows up at the magic box. Xander logically assumes that Willow is responsible. Buffy uses her invisibility to screw with Doris, the social worker, who after watching her coffee cup dance in the air, might be believably suffering psychosis. Buffy has invisible sex with Spike when Xander and Anya show up, and it's just Spike doing push-ups while Buffy teases him. It's cute, but weird. The trio kidnap Willow and challenge Buffy to an invisible battle at the arcade. Willow changes the frequency of the ray gun, and people are made revisible, and Buffy discovers it's the trio and not demons that are responsible for the invisible shit, and when they disappear into a cloud of smoke. And they're gone.
And now on to Great Lines.
Great lines.
This line's basically a constant one. It's such a great callback joke. So I just picked one of them that made me laugh. Buffy got her haircut? And that's just Willow. This haircut bit is so funny and stupid, and it made me laugh every time they talked about how Buffy got a haircut, even though she's invisible and they can't see it. And then when they can't see it, it's like, damn, that's cute. Looking good. You're adorable.
All right. I thought Spike was very funny. Try to do my Spike voice. Buffy's a great mom. For instance, when Dawn was hanging out too much in my crypt, she put a stop to it. Crypt? Buffy says, crib. He said crib. I just love this Spike saying crypt and crib and like just saying inappropriate things like when the social worker shows up.
Spike actually trying is so much worse than Spike like just being a jerk.
Yeah, totally.
I chose two lines. This first one from Anya when they find out like what the consequences are. She goes, "She's pudding." And this last one from Warren when he finally introduces himself to Buffy. "We're your arch nemesis."
I picked a line from Buffy with the social worker that comes in. She says, "I know what that looks like, but I swear it's not what it looks like. It's magic weed." Which clears up everything.
Along the same lines, my great line is Buffy, she's taking the candles away. She says, yeah, well, to you and me, they're just candles, but to witches, they're like bongs. Which I feel like this episode is like openly making fun of the previous episode with its ridiculous magic drugs metaphor.
Yeah. Oh, man. Especially right after that when they're like, the bird. There's crystals in the bird. It's just like, you can hide your drugs in it. I get high off these crystals. All right, guys. Let's do the kill count.
The kill count.
This episode, surprisingly, 0 murder, death, kills, but 4 human... Yeah?
What about that pinball machine?
Get into that. Good lord, that's not human.
You've done other deaths of like inanimate things, I think, before in the past. Like
I literally have a whole list here. If you could look at the
Okay.
All right. 0 murder, death, kills, but 4 human invisibilities, multiple objects invisibled, 1 home visit from a social worker, and 1 kidnapping. And I didn't call it the pinball because Mike's got that in the notes.
Sorry.
The shaming of David Yoder continues.
I'll leave now.
All right, let's move on to weird noticings and trivia.
Weird noticings.
So I guess like the start of this episode, my first thought really was, Willow's still allowed to leave here after like what happened, or live here after like what happened in the last episode. It's just kind of shocking to me because it's like she really endangered Dawn's life. Like,
yeah, but I think the gang has the right attitude towards addiction that they're going to try to help Willow heal and support her. That seems to be most people's attitude. Like nobody is like just like fuck you, Willow.
I guess not a fuck you. I don't. It still feels really weird that like why is Willow living in Buffy's house still? Like, I guess
why was she living
out
there in the first place? I guess.
Yeah, but as it carries on, it like I don't know.
Why does she still have the big bedroom?
Yeah, it's like just convenience to have like all your characters closer together for TV sake.
Although I like the idea that they'd be like, well, Willow, you can stay here, but we're going to put you in the little bedroom now. Go. There's your punishment room.
I really just wanted to call out Buffy's amazing. It's either a Jaguar shirt or like a Panther shirt. Like, it's an amazingly cool shirt. And there's a lot of great T-shirts in this episode. A lot of really good, there's like a Skinny Skulls T-shirt later on. Like, T-shirt game was on point this episode.
There was a SpongeBob's.
There's a SpongeBob
T-shirt.
If you freeze frame it, it says SpongeBob Square Briefs.
Speaking of, I guess this is Weird Noticings. Spike's lighter gets premium prop placement in this episode. Like, does the lighter even get a flashback of itself?
Yeah,
like,
it does. Yeah,
like that's premium prop placement. Like, I didn't even associate the lighter immediately with Spike, which is why they do the flashback. Thank you very much. But then you think about it, you're like, gosh, Spike has that lighter all the time. He's always fiddling with it. He started. There's some arson that's been started because of this lighter. Like, this is a classic Spike lighter.
They should do an episode that's just about the lighter while like Buffy stuff happens in the background, and they could call it the Zippo.
I was going to say, didn't we already do that?
Zippo.
Because like I was rewatching season 6, episode 1, and like there's totally like Spike uses the lighter to light a vampire on fire rather than save Giles directly, so that Giles can stress out a little bit, Because I was trying to pull that line. It's like cup of tea, got shag, cup of tea. Premium prop. Now that I'm reminded of its existence.
So even though breakfast is the most important meal of the day, Dawn is still skipping breakfast. She must really hate breakfast. Like,
I wouldn't eat that omelet anyway.
She doesn't hate breakfast. She hates Willow, because the whole thing is that Tara makes her breakfast. Tara's always making her pancakes and stuff. And so when Willow is like, "Oh, Donnie, I'll make you breakfast. I'll step into that role."
I don't know.
Dawn's just like, "Fuck you."
I'm just saying, as like a main reason for watching Breaking Bad is all the great breakfasts. Here you
Very
get like
true.
just skipping breakfast. And like last episode, there was like a burnt pancake even. It's like, oh my God, you're like torturing me here, like with the waste of the breakfast food.
Breaking Bad is mostly a show about breakfast. That's true.
Yeah.
So Spike's appearance in the kitchen, full on cartoon magic.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, there's a bunch of smoke coming off him. Like, he just shows up. Oh, it's the neighborhood, whatever he says. Like, that, they're in Bugs Bunny territory big time. And maybe this particular episode more than any other. Like, this really sets... If this was your first episode of Buffy, you would have no idea how... I mean, this is just amazing cartoon magic.
Yeah. It's funny, like, they even bother to, like, give him smoke and everything, because obviously he's not affected at all by the sun. Like, that is a very well lit by the sun kitchen, and it doesn't, like...
His crypt later on is full on in sunlight. Like, there's full on windows with no drapes in his crypt. Like, it's bad.
This guy. Buffy, like, Sarah Michelle Gellar is very obviously wearing a wig through these beginning scenes. And it's made so much worse by, like, I know story-wise why they need to do it, but, like, Spike even, like, talks about her hair. He's like, oh, I love that hair. And then he touches it, and he's like, I love it when it bounces. But it's, like, just the stroking of this, like, really blatant wig only draws more attention to it. They should, like, I wish they could have just ignored it. But obviously Buffy's already got the haircut in real life. Do
you think that's something that would have played differently in SD? Like, if we're watching it, I think you're watching it on streaming, right, Dennis?
Yeah. This episode I watched on streaming. I do kind of half and half based on my energy levels, whether I feel like putting a DVD in.
Can I be bothered to put the disc in the player?
I put my Blu-ray player like too high up.
You need a step stool.
Whenever I see somebody though who like has a part in their hair and then you still can't see their scalp, there's still like that like 1 inch space. That's like always really stands out as weak to me. Oh yeah, and then Xander interrupts their foreplay or whatever and says, Good Godfrey Cambridge, Spike." And I was like, what the fuck is that? I had to like put on captions because at first I heard "Good God pre-Cambridge, Spike," and I was like, pre-Cambridge. So good God, Godfrey Cambridge. Does anyone know who that is?
Please explain this.
He was a stand-up comedian and an actor. I found somewhere a list of some of his credits. They sound so weird. So he's a African American stand up. He had a movie called The Watermelon Man.
What
He
era
was in-
was this person active?
He was more active in like the early '60s, I guess. But he was in Cotton Comes to Harlem and Friday Foster and Beware the Blob. So I know I've seen Beware the Blob and Friday Foster, but like really odd reference.
Yeah, I don't understand why. And like also, how does Xander know?
Well, Xander makes sense. Xander is a fan of comedy, so he would pull out these weird deep. But I can't imagine him watching The Watermelon Man. I don't know.
Well, speaking of dated references, it was weird to me that like with the social worker showing up, it kind of made it apparent that like all of Dawn's friends are like these 20 to 30-year-olds. Like, how weird is that? Like for like a 15-year-old to always be hanging around like these adults. I mean, it's definitely a constant of the show, and it's because Buffy's her sister, but it's just kind of made more apparent this time.
It's definitely a kind of kid. Like, and you can always tell them, like when I teach kids, you can tell the kind of kid who only hangs out with adults because they don't fit in with the other kids and they use, words that are too big and they talk like adults.
Nerds.
Yeah.
So we meet Doris Kroger, and I feel like the show is like trying to paint her as a villain a little, like she's a real like Chastity Pariah or Dolores Umbridge type. Chastity Pariah, for those who don't know, is the like villain in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. She's like that, like, I run this town and everything offends me, but like, is Doris Kroger that type? Like, I haven't seen her do anything that isn't reasonable. She seems super.
Oh, I know.
Oh, totally. I think we're all on her side. I mean, they do a good
Yeah.
job of setting up the insanity of Buffy's household.
Yeah. I mean, just like later when like Buffy pranks her, it's like,
Yeah.
this is not
Well,
nice.
It feels like we're supposed to be on Buffy's side, but I'm not. Like, Buffy's being horrible. And it's supposed to be like, screw her for trying to take Dawn away. But no, she's doing her job, and her job is really important. And she's doing it with a reasonable amount of compassion. And like, it's such an important and thankless job.
But also, like, it works. Like, Buffy's pranking works, and she's going to get reevaluated. It's like...
Yeah. Doris might have lost her job.
And her mind.
I would fall for that prank. I would fall for the, kill people prank or whatever this is.
Oh, no.
So, Dennis, I feel like you kind of tipped this happening earlier in another episode, but the diamond finally goes in a gun this time that the trio has. So maybe you're just misremembering or something.
Yeah.
I don't know if that...
I know you steal a gun you steal a diamond from a museum to use it for a gun. I just got confused because there was also a freeze ray.
Yeah, and it could have very well happened off screen with the freeze ray. Like, it was unclear, but...
I love the ILM versus Ed Wood comparison. I'd never heard it before. And they're basically talking about the invisibility ray and how it looks. And just like, man, that's such a perfect way to both... like, it's like the prop looks cool, but it doesn't look that cool. Like, this is we've got this amazing prop. How would a nerd actually frame this? And it's like, it's a total Ed Wood prop. But it's better than that. It's in between. I mean, it's like a Bugs Bunny. But I love that comparison, which they just nail it immediately.
So one of the amazing things about this episode is that when they're in the nerd lair in the basement, and later also when Willow comes in, actually you get some better shots of it. So there's enough to actually read this entire whiteboard with the plans for the invisibility ray, and all of the parts are labeled. It's actually pretty excellent. Also, their whiteboard drawing skills are fantastic. I just want to give them some credit for that. A couple of things. First of all, the theory governing the invisibility ray is really nicely laid out here. So I'm just going to read that into the record if you don't mind. It's a little bit hard to read. Give me some patience here. Okay, so here's how the invisibility ray works. A, visual scanners record light-reflected data, parentheses LRD. B, CPU simulates LRD, projecting artificial data through Diamond. C, Diamond reflects absolute inverse of LRD. D, light oscillator shaft, LDS, or LOS, uses absolute inverse data to construct designer atoms with inverse pyropaths, I guess. E, the designer atoms, parentheses, electron orbs, are something
Emitted.
Thank you, are emitted as a beam. Subject is
Coated.
what do you think? Coated? Yeah. Subject is coated with solid photonic matter, canceling light reflecting. What do you think, Travis?
Ability.
Okay, ability.
Canceling light reflecting ability. Good. And then there's an arrow. Thus, subject attains invisibility. So that's the theory. It's all about designer atoms.
Wow.
And then my favorite part is to the left of that, they have a list of their secondary projects. Project 1 is freeze ray, fix bugs! ! Project 2, isotonic muscle builder.
Yeah.
And Project 3 is pheromone spray.
This is that's a lot of work for like a background prop.
Yeah. There's actually another similar like one for the freeze ray, but there's never a shot where you can actually read it.
All that science just so they could look at girls naked. That was their plan.
Yeah. Invisibility, you only create that for creepy reasons. There's no, like...
I'm going to be invisible. No, me.
So Buffy, when, she gave herself the haircut, or her wig the haircut, was anybody else like, that's a quarantine cut?
I do think it's a little bit weird that like it's a haircut that she gives herself in a moment of like sort of self-loathing and bottoming out, where she so hates herself for sleeping with Spike, and then later everyone's just giving her all this positive reinforcement for that. It really is like a Britney Spears haircut. It's like a freak out haircut.
Yeah,
but it turns out well, I guess.
Well, she gets it touched up at the barbershop.
Yeah, I know. I know, but like it's got to feel weird. I know it would feel weird for me, like if I gave myself a haircut out of like a moment of desperation, and then later I got a bunch of compliments on it. Secretly inside, those would all cut.
Deep, man. And we just want to call out that like the reason for this dramatic haircut and stuff is because of Felicity's Law.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, J.J. Abrams' time travel show Felicity, famously on the WB, lost a huge amount of ratings when Felicity got a haircut, and so the WB like created Felicity's Law, where no main female character could get a haircut ever. But now they're on UPN, and Felicity's Law no longer pertains.
Is that an actual law, like punishable by jail time, or
you get thrown out of the WB, man?
Oh, okay.
Those are people looking for any excuse to stop watching that show.
In the crypt, on his blood fridge, Spike has a flyer for something called Primal Trance, and it's kind of hard to read the name of it even because it's in such a ridiculous cyberpunk font. And so I googled it, and Primal Trance was and I think maybe even still is, a yearly rave in LA, like a full on like pacifiers and glow sticks rave scene situation, and it's just really fun to imagine Spike going to one of those. It doesn't seem like his scene, but it seems like he might go anyway. Like I kind of believe that. I kind of believe it.
I don't know. It makes sense for like old Spike, like because he's also the guy who went to Woodstock to drink flower children.
That's right.
That's
right.
Yeah, it seems like it would be more annoying for him now because like he wouldn't be able to drink any of the blood banks.
That's true. But I think he always enjoys the experience of filtering drugs through blood, right?
Yeah.
This is old Spike.
His version of like a vanilla latte.
It's nice to hear Uncle Rory get name checked again. We haven't heard that guy's name in a long time.
Yep.
Just his name?
Well, we've never met him, but we
never met Uncle
stories.
Rory. Just his name.
He's still alive. That's that says something in that town.
Michael, do you remember the?
Yes,
Uncle
I remember
Rory
Uncle
story?
Rory. Yeah, because he loaned Xander the car. Yeah, so I think. Well, I have a prediction about Uncle Rory, but I'll get it later.
Another zoom in enhance, speaking of Uncle Rory, is you can make out a good chunk of, not all of, but a good chunk of the wedding seating plan. I Googled a number of these names. I was kind of really hoping this would have been like a fun Easter egg, that these would have all been the names of people who worked on Buffy. That may be true of some of them. Roxanne Griffin, for example, is a name that you can see here. And there is a Roxanne Griffin who is a hairstylist who is not credited as working on Buffy, but is credited as working on both Dollhouse and Firefly. So I feel like maybe she was that was a person that they knew. I couldn't find any evidence of any of the other names being connected with Buffy. And a lot of them are just kind of very generic names of there's a million people, like there's Lori Lane and John Lane and a million people with those names. But
Lori
the one
Lane's
thing,
a good name. Very like Superman.
yeah, Lori Lane is actually apparently a manga character. Anyway, but the one thing that's really heartbreaking is that there's a little tag for Willow and then a little tag next to it for Tara with a question mark. It's just so sad.
That is so sad.
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
Yeah.
Also, Buffy has to sit next to Xander's parents. Like, is that going to be
Well, they're kind of discussing that as Buffy walks in, right? They're sort of like, is Buffy going to be at the same table as Xander's parents and Uncle Rory, or how are they going to move that around? How are they going to make that work? And then there's a table. There's like you kind of got cropped out in the picture I have here, but there's a like an extra table that's almost been pasted on from a separate piece of paper that just has Dawn and then someone else's name you can't see. I assume that's the kids' table. Is this going to be Dawn and some 8-year-old? I have no idea.
Poor Dawn. It sounds like a really rough wedding to plan. Can't believe Xander doesn't even want DeHoffrin there. I agree with Anya. It's rude not to invite him.
I don't know. Do you really? I'm not going to, I got married and invited no one, but if I were to get married again, I would not invite any ex-bosses, that's for sure.
I mean,
you don't have a boss.
He's more than an ex-boss. They've known each other for literally 1,000 years.
Okay, that's good.
1,000 years.
For me, it's more the 1,000 year than the ex-boss piece.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that she's very focused on work, so she's going to value work relationships. So I was just going crazy when they kept calling the traffic cone a pylon. I was like, pylon, what? I was just going so crazy. like pylon for me is more on a bridge. And I Wikipedia pylon. And I guess some people will call a traffic cone a traffic pylon. But dude, it looks like a cone. It's shaped like a cone. Like you can put it on your head like a cone. Yeah. Stop calling it a pylon.
I wonder if it's like a regional thing. Like
I don't know. I could not. I was like, WTF.
I was also outraged by them not calling it a traffic cone.
I like that just when Willow finds it, she has to describe it so much. It's like everybody knows what a traffic cone is. You don't have to be like...
Well, it's almost like it was written by someone who didn't speak English as a first language, because like you only describe something if like you can't name it. It's like you don't describe what like a glass of milk looks like. You say, "Oh, this is a glass of milk." It's like, so it's like a glass
that white
cylinder that's
creamy
open.
stuff that comes out of a cow and people drink it.
It's like a rural beverage made in the rural countryside, and it can be made into other things as well. Everyone's like, oh, this object is just half full of it. You're just half full of it. And it's like, other people are like, man, this thing's half empty. I don't know. It's my rant. I was so angry about this traffic cone.
I love it. That's what I come here for.
You're ready for your own daytime talk show. You really are.
So is anyone else surprised that Invisible Buffy turns into a prop comic?
Seriously.
I was reminded of when Xander got really angry that he lost Class Clown to a prop comic. Anybody can be a prop class clown.
I did like the bit with the balls that like had the eyes on them. I thought that was pretty
that was
fun.
a solid bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to see her play that way. I also just prefer that because they just get to I'm invisible immediately, because like it's unclear how they're going to handle that. After she turns invisible, but she just walks right in the magic shop and it's like starts doing the prop comedy.
Yeah.
But it is unbelievable how far they take it. Like, I think it's cool they kind of get a do-over on like classic monster concepts. That like, we've done Invisible, but season 6, we'll just do it again.
Yeah. And it's from an entirely different, it's like, this isn't about feeling like neglected. This is like some other whole thing.
So Buffy got zapped with the ray when she was wearing her clothes, and her clothes turned invisible, as Xander points out. But couldn't she just put on like new clothes, and then at least like that part of her would be visible, right? Like if she did a change of outfit.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do in most Invisible movies. They put on some clothes.
I mean, I feel like she wouldn't just want to. Like Buffy's whole thing is
Yeah.
she actually
Right.
likes being invisible.
What's Spike's amazing line? The like free from your life is another line for that. There's another name for that. It's called dead.
I was kind of surprised by like how Buffy just acts like a completely different person almost when she becomes invisible. The like you said, the prop comic, but also like she goes on a real prank, like borderline criminal like spree here. Like all the stuff she was doing in the park. I don't know what the easy target was with the joggers, like just to trip them or something. But like you talked about, like the social worker telling her to kill people. Like that was like what? Like who is this person doing this stuff?
The person with the studded cap who she steals from, Travis, did you get big like Amy Acker vibes from her?
Not too much. When she's like, "I'm doing you a favor." Was that the one?
Yeah, that would.
I didn't get much big vibes from that. I'd have to rewatch the scene. It was like random. I mean, this is like an extra. I feel like this episode was, if it didn't have such a strong plot, it feels like this was pieced together through like scenes that were cut from other episodes. Like it's like a patchwork quilt episode.
I was just wondering, like, if it was like Sarah Michelle Gellar like got a new haircut, so they have to address that, and also like she's only available for like 2 days on set this week or something, because like it's a very like light day for
she had
her.
like a medical emergency, like she got a horrible sunburn, or like I'm trying to like rationalize this episode.
I mean, the justification for turning her invisible is probably the hardest thing, where she's exiting the barber shop, the stylist, right? And then the dudes or the trio is like, I want to be invisible so I can prank her, follow her, be a creep, right? Like they've completely unplanned for that moment, and then they get her invisible plus nearby accessories, whatever. I don't know. That's just like so goofy. But they do have an invisible sex scene, and that's what I want to talk about for a minute, because wow, they go all the way with this gag. This is a proper like 18th century restoration drama gag that they pull off here, where Spike is having sex with Buffy. Xander appears, talks down to Spike, which, by the way, I think like that would be an immediate buzzkill, but not for Spike. He's able to hold it together because he knows what's really going
Buffy.
That apparently when one person in the sex scene is invisible, you can be as explicit as you want.
Yeah, so much thrusting. That was
When he's doing the fake push-ups on top of her, like
that's
something.
And when
Dude,
they had
that's
the
such a good
noise,
point.
they had the Buffy sex noise when he was doing the push-ups. It was so uncomfortable.
Oh man.
What happens if in the future Xander puts this together? He's gonna be. I would be, if I was in Xander's shoes. I would be so pissed off at Buffy. That is so gross.
I would probably vomit. I don't know.
Like,
Yeah.
like if I was invisible, I wouldn't be like, let me look for ways to have sex in front of my friends. That would not be my immediate go-to.
Yeah, it's kind of unreal that she can throw away all her shame just as an invisible version of herself.
I mean, that's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I mean that is kind of the whole thing, and I think again it speaks to her like the nihilism that she feels, right? But
We're like she's the closest she has ever been to Anarchy Riley. Like this is Anarchy
Yes.
Buffy. Like this is
Anarchy Buffy. Yeah.
or like this
this
is like
is-
part demon Buffy. Like what this is the Buffy came back wrong. Like I don't know. There's not even like a good explanation. Like
Or she's acting more.
I
like
have a
fake.
good explanation, actually.
okay, yeah.
The book, The Dark Sacrament, True Stories of Modern Day Demon Possession and Exorcism.
The Dark
says
Sacrament.
that this is a very like Catholic propaganda book. There was a gift. Says that if you're ever sexually assaulted by an invisible force, it is in fact not a ghost, but a demon possession. That the demon might try to simulate being a person with their shapes and feels, and even with their Ouija backstory they give you. But the sexual assault is always the mark of a demon possession.
Wow.
So,
When was this published?
when was this book from?
I want an 1800s. No, I'm just kidding. It's probably from like 1950s.
No, it's 2007.
Oh God. Wow. Wait. There are still Catholic people pushing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
God.
I read this book sometimes before bed, and it gives me the spooks, and then I have spooky dreams.
I'll say, God,
That's
that's
such,
terrifying.
that's such a Dennis thing to do. Like, to read like a scary, weird book. And it's like, I'm in it for the feels. And it's like, how am I going to scare my subconscious into having some amazing monster dreams? I know. Catholic propaganda. Imagine how scared you would have been during the Middle Ages, Dennis. Like, Middle Ages Dennis would have been like all about the Catholic Church. You would have been like, oh man, yes, I saw all these amazing drawings of these people being eaten by demons. And you'd be like, oh yeah.
I've thought about it a lot, actually, and medieval Dennis would have become a monk.
Yeah.
Start drawing those illuminated manuscripts, get into beer brewing. That would have been my whole thing.
Dude, you totally would have, man.
Oh my God.
You'd be like, I'm left alone. I drink my beer. I do my manuscripts. And it's like, yeah, it's like no stress.
So Buffy, we see her like silhouette, or we see a little bit of her body in the sheets, and it just reminded me they were working on this effect with the Terra ghost earlier. So it's just interesting, like effects wise, to see them kind of like, this is a new effect for them, and now we're going to see it a couple times as they figure out new uses for it.
So I guess to make up for how little we see of Sarah Michelle Gellar this episode, we get to see a heck of a lot of James Marsters. Like, I feel like that camera, like, if the widescreen was like top and bottom rather than left and right for Hulu, like it'd probably have to be like a sensor bar there, because it was like right at the hip line, like.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, James Marsters has been working out a lot this season for these scenes, and they're going to use them. I feel like this is like right before like it became really commonplace for actors to get into crazy shape for roles all the time. Like, you know, if you look at like early superhero movies, it's not like Michael Keaton was getting, or Val Kilmer were getting like super ripped to become Batman, you know? Like,
Right. It's just like he just stopped eating French fries for a few weeks, right?
Yeah.
Like
And this is like way before The Machinist, which is like the super famous. It's not a famous movie, but it's a famous movie for like that British actor. Body transformation by that British actor. That's Bale, Chris Bale. He's one of the Chris's.
Funny.
You guys. Either
He goes by Christian Bale more than Chris Bale, but
dude, he's one of the 20 Chris's in Hollywood.
I heard it as Crisp Bale. Like,
yeah, I heard
like,
crisp as well.
Like he's a potato chip.
At one point, the trio, I think Andrew's talking about how Lex Luthor doesn't kill Superman. It's like Lex Luthor totally tries to kill Superman. That's like his main thing. He like loses, I think, an entire hand because he's wearing like a kryptonite ring for a long time, because like he's just like ready to like kill Superman. So like,
I always thought that ring was more about protection. Like he's saying like, even Superman can't fuck with me. Until he... I'm
just saying, as someone that's read a lot of Superman comics, watched a lot of Superman media, Lex is trying to kill Superman. And you can debate me on Twitter about that. But
no, Andrew is totally wrong. David Yoder knows more about Superman than Andrew. It's wild to me. It feels like shocking when Willow got caught. You're like, it's Willow. She hasn't been caught in so long. She's out of the game now. She's lost her powers. It's just wild. Also, totally wild that the gang, whatever their name is, we don't know yet, made themselves invisible after knowing that is a potential fatality.
Yeah, that's a crazy plan.
I guess we're not talking about Willow so much. Let me just jump in and make the comment about it, because like she actually hunts down the gang, the trio, by going to the DMV and looking at records, right?
Yeah,
like just hopping on a DMV computer like it's an internet cafe.
Well, no, she goes to the internet cafe. She's at the espresso pump.
She's at the espresso pump.
And the espresso pump has this amazing cyber cafe thing set up.
Okay,
I have a screenshot of it, which I didn't put in the meet. Give me 1 second here. So the espresso pump apparently has a cyber cafe kiosk set up called the E-Pump, with rates of 12, 250, and 500. I don't know what that means, what that's per minute or megabyte. I have no idea.
Once again, proof.
But it's a really cool
deal. Is not part of the.
It's a really cool little kiosk. And Willow uses this to hack the DMV, even though she has her own laptop. I guess she's doing it so it won't be traced back to her. I don't know. But if anybody cares to, of course, because it's a Buffy computer, it's a Mac System 9 rolling on this thing, and you can, if you look at the DMV website. If anyone cares, we have Jonathan Levinson's address, which is 7222 Walnut Grove.
Put it on the Buffy map then, right?
Well, I tried because, of course, the Buffy map that we have on the website is based upon the idea that Sunnydale is a stand-in for Santa Barbara. There is no Walnut Grove in Sunnydale, and in fact, there is no Walnut Grove in the United States with numbers that go all the way up to 7,222.
Glad you did the research.
Answering the important questions.
I'm glad you guys explained. Well, there's two things. One, the next Unabomber is going to be mailing from 7222 Walnut Grove, right? The other part that's more serious is I'm so glad you figured out what the e-pump was, because I totally didn't understand the e-pump like signage. But I see in this one there's an espresso pump dealer. Like the guy's wearing this weird. Why does it say espresso pump dealer? Like this guy's wearing a shirt.
It's a really weird thing, and it's a thing that you would see in real life, but it doesn't make instant visual sense in a TV show. So it's strange, but the espresso pump is a gas station themed coffee shop,
Right.
and sort of always has been.
Yeah.
And so the e-pump is
what's this
sort of
Michael Burnett's website?
themed like it's a gas pump, but it's your internet kiosk.
Yeah, I don't know. But you're not a dealer. You're like a technician or...
Right.
But anyways, okay, I'll stop with that.
I mean, the least realistic thing about all this is that the monitor for the e-pump is... they have two of them, is an Apple Cinema display. Those things were wicked expensive. You would never use that for a coffee bar.
Do you think it's like 12 minutes, 250 megabytes, or 500? I don't know. I was trying to think.
No, yeah, you can't read it. I've tried. You get a few shots of that sign. Who knows? This is riveting radio, by the way.
You could do some AI upscale. But anyways, also I'm so hungry to go to either the year 2000 or 2001 or to just a general coffee shop right now. Like I'd be like, oh my God, that would I'd be just sitting there so happy for a billion different reasons. But I'm like, oh, it's so weird and different. And I would just go to a regular coffee shop and be super happy, but can't.
Check out the next screenshot up. In the video arcade, as the camera pans across, there's a moment where we see a flyer for a website called mbpfx.com. This turns out to be Michael Burnett's website. Michael Burnett is a pretty well-established makeup effects and visual effects guy. He is not credited as working on Buffy, but I know he did work on Buffy because he's got pictures of it on his Twitter page. And MBPFX is no longer his website, but it was at the time. And if you check out through the Internet Archive Wayback Machine, his website is really cool, especially for being a 2002 website. He's got a really cool website with images of his effects work. It's actually kind of a neat website checkout.
I like that it's on the World Wide Web.
Yeah, the flyer is itself kind of a cool artifact.
This pinball machine, one of them at least, not the one that gets destroyed, thankfully, is a No Good Gophers machine, which is amazing, and as a background pinball machine, because it's actually a fun one, and is a ripoff of Caddyshack, with the Caddyshack Gopher kind of story. But it's a really well-made pinball machine, and that triggered me because I was like, oh man, pinball. Anyway, that'd be really fun. This is a fun little arcade scene, just in general. Feels like a real arcade, like they may have gone to an actual one, or they got actual arcade machines, not strange generic ones.
It did seem like though the Invisible Kids were playing Tekken, but it looked like the box was a generic box, right?
It's Dead or Alive. It's the first.
Oh, it is.
Game. Yep.
Although I think
the joysticks are labeled shoot and bomb, and there's only 2 buttons, which I think is probably not accurate to that game. Although I haven't checked.
It is probably not accurate. I agree. But that's just a strong hunch. But they did it. Wow, invisible fighting. Yeah. This episode has a lot of exciting invisible stuff here. Invisible sex, and we've got invisible prop comedy, and we've got invisible fighting. There must be a list of all the things you're supposed to do in an invisible show, invisible episode, and they do all of them. Except, do they eat invisible food? Do they eat food as an invisible person? Because that's pretty cool when you get the little chomp in the apple. Yeah. That seems like an obvious.
About to with the pizza, but I don't think we got visualization.
I mean, that leads to all kinds of unsettling questions. Wouldn't you see the food digesting and their stomach floating around? If not, like, at what point does the food become part of your body and become invisible?
How many chews? Yeah.
If you
No, because
poop,
we know that
is the
it's,
poop invisible, and for how long?
Well, I'm glad I've got a bunch of researchers here to consider it, because I had no idea. But I was surprised how much I enjoyed the invisible fighting. Like, they just moving the camera around and with sound effects really worked. I'm simple. You just totally get me.
Yeah, I think one of the favorite things for me about this episode that I appreciated was just how they filmed it like normal with the invisible stuff, like the scene of her kicking the can, and especially like with when she listens to the voicemail from Xander, and then it cuts to like a reaction shot of like where her face would be, but like we don't see anything. Like I thought that was great because it's like, yeah, this is the language of like, you know, the editing and the shots of this TV show, but like we're not seeing like, you know, this important information.
That's a good point, Yoder. You're right, absolutely right. They really like do a good job of conveying the same visuals without someone there. Like even Buffy just like kicking a can down the road, and like I'm like, wow, they're really keeping up with imaginary Buffy.
Yeah, I bet to a degree
great.
they did actually choreograph like what the fight would be, you know, even though we don't see any of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to still say it, but Buffy's haircut is very cute when we finally get that reveal. And like you guys talked about, and I'm sure you dealt with a lot in the last episode, it's like at the end, it seems like they're still kind of hitting the magic equals drugs thing kind of hard, with Willow talking about how difficult it was for her to get through this day. You know, like when she was doing the hacking at the DMV, she was very tempted to speed up that spinning wheel or the progress bar thing.
So wait, to be clear,
she made it through clean, I think, today.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing of like why she got caught. She didn't magic them. Like,
right.
She literally like put herself in more danger by not like zapping them or something.
That makes sense. I felt like it was a little bit ambiguous because the bar does then fill up after she gestures at it.
No, I think it's just supposed to be the temptation, and then like she fights it off.
Right, makes sense.
And so just the ending song, I was like, oh, this is a cool ending song. What is it? And it's from, the band is called The Trespassers Williams. And the ending song is I Know, and it's off their 1999 Anchor album. And it's actually a really fun album. They were an indie rock band, and they eventually broke up in 2012. But, so if any of you are curious, that's what their sound is really fun. And it's a really good, the 1999 album is really fun. So it's called Trespassers Williams. That's the name of the band. It's very strange, but apparently it's from Winnie the Pooh.
All right. Well, that was Weird Noticings and Trivia. Why don't we move on to questions for the group?
Questions for the group.
You have turned invisible. What is the first conversation you overhear that you shouldn't have been overheard, right? Right? Like, because there can't be any good information that you overhear while invisible.
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
it's very unlikely it's going to be like, yeah, you turn invisible and then immediately you overhear like, you know who's awesome? John Landis. Let's do something really nice for him. Like that's not what you're going to overhear.
Let's bake him a cake. Yeah, I was just thinking we should bake him a cake.
I mean, John, if you overheard all of us talking about you, that would be what it's like, for sure.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. No, no griping about certain films that may or may not have been watched.
So I actually have.
No, we do that.
We
We do the griping in person.
Because if I walk away while we're recording this and then I end up editing the episode, then I actually do get to hear what you say about me when you think I'm dead, which is or invisible, which is kind of amazing.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah, because we were for a long time just being like, well, John will edit it.
Yeah. So
Hope you're not getting spoiled.
Why? What the question? What did we say when Polly was invisible?
When Polly was invisible, no, you talk about what predictions were close or not. Like you literally spill it all out. Yeah.
Oh, you got some of that talk. Oh no.
Yeah, but it's all like
top secret predictions chats.
But I think there's one where actually you talked about what job you thought I would have. I don't know why this one stands out to me. Probably because it's about a career. Like, I always thought Polly would be a researcher or some kind, like work at a university.
I kind of remember saying that.
I don't remember who said that, but that was.
I said that. I've had that thought many times.
Okay, well, it was a John offhand. It was an off-camera or like Polly Invisible comment.
Wow.
And how did that make
so
you feel?
you asked a question you actually had the answer to, which is intense.
Well, there is a way of being invisible, yes. Recording everything everyone says and then leaving the room.
Yeah, just wiretap all your friends. What could
I don't
go
think
wrong?
I had to do that when I went to visit Dennis back in January when we went to that small convention and we saw Donna there. Donna was just like trash talking about how like I'm not good at handling games, and like it felt like the thing you would say about me when I wasn't there, but she said it right to my face, and so I got that experience.
You still, yeah, obviously that stinks because you still
That
remember
sucks.
it. Again, I just think these are the things we say to each other. Like, I would rather just say it instead of.
Yeah, it's better to just have it out in the open.
Also, you do handle losing at games very poorly.
I know.
You called me a motherfucker for beating you at the Jurassic Park board game.
You had it easy. You were a dinosaur.
New podcast idea.
Yoder plays games.
David gets irate at playing games.
Yoder can't lose.
One time at a game
Twitter
night,
can't lose. Yeah,
time at a
if I
game
win,
night,
then
Yoder
it's a
got
great experience for me. But
so mad that he left the room, and we were roommates at the time, and he left his keys. So I called him. I was like, Yoder, you left your keys, and you almost didn't come back. You were like, who cares? Like I don't even want them. Like you weren't even gonna like come back home that night. Like you're so angry. Sorry, this is off topic, but it cracks me up to think about your anger.
I'd like to, overhear like some cool conversation, or not cool conversations, like people that you definitely know are ripping you off, and you just want to see like, do they act, conscientious when they're trying to rip you off? Like, at a car dealership, when you go to the car manager's office and there's like the new person comes in, because of the internet, we all know how buying a car works and the high pressure sales and, everyone's function in a car dealership. Like it's not a mystery of how they're trying to get money out of you, but you always have to wonder, are they conscientious or, sympathetic when they talk about you in the manager's office? That'd be one thing to really be interested in. And then of course, I'm more of like a practical person. I would like to be, all the restaurants I go to, I would just like to be in the kitchen and just like be invisible and be like, oh, I feel good about going to this Burgerville, or, oh, I feel good about going to this restaurant. I'm like a practical person.
Go to KFC and find out the 11 secret herbs and spices if you're invisible.
You're not going to find out at the local KFC.
It's the one secret bag of frozen chicken parts.
All right, well, moving on. Should Dawn be placed with another family? Because I think this episode sets you up with a clear direction there. But should Dawn be fostered by another family? What do you think?
It's
No.
It's a good tough
No,
question.
not qualified to answer this.
I mean, my answer is the same. It's no. I think this is the right environment for her. What I think, in an ideal like non-supernatural world, what would happen though is this is a wake-up call for Buffy, and it's also finally like John brought this up in Flooded, and I know it because I just listened to that episode. One of the problems with these kids is they're not availing themselves of social services. Like this is now an opportunity for them to finally like start using like government assistance in a lot of ways that they're not, and really up their game in terms of like caregiving for Dawn. Whether that happens, whether they just
which is a strike against the social worker that we see. She doesn't. I mean, we don't know what's happened off screen, obviously, but she doesn't offer anything in the way of support or information for Buffy. She's strictly in a judging role. Which, and again, I don't know how this works in the real world. Probably should, because it abuts my job in some ways. But like, I don't know if that's a different person or a different role or a different opportunity. But
I don't work with child protective services. I work with adult protective services. They're very sympathetic. They do a lot of research. They try to help people out with all kinds of resources. So I think that this person should be offering all kinds of resources to Buffy. So I think maybe this episode was written by someone who had a really bad experience with child protective services, to be quite honest, because I've never met anyone that was like just as unsympathetic as this person.
Or even
Yes.
more likely,
Yes,
no
or
experience.
no
or just made
experience.
it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were just like
But
writing
like
type.
they do tons of research, hours and hours. They spend with the families, lots of phone calls. I mean, like the idea that you show up for 5 minutes and then leave is a TV version of the Child Protective Services, much like the TV versions of being a doctor or firefighter or CIA spy or astronaut.
Yeah, she didn't even see the whole house. Like, that's not a thorough investigation.
Yeah, and I mean, my aunt worked. Her career was in early childhood intervention, which would be a totally different thing than this. But like, that's like, bringing therapy into the family, like doing as much resource stuff that we don't see. That like, yeah. So I don't think Dawn should be removed from her family. Like, obviously, being raised by her sister is like the best environment here. Like, being brought into like a random foster family wouldn't be better.
I feel like the biggest strike against Buffy is the economic issue is still
She
like
needs
a
to get
big
a job.
question mark. Like,
Tune in next week. Double Meat Palace.
All right. What ingredients do you like in your omelet?
I'm glad you asked this question, Travis.
Oh, this is a much lighter question.
it's a good question.
Because it drove me crazy that Willow just dumped all these like uncooked onions right when like the omelet was already almost done. That egg was almost cooked, and like eggs cook a lot quicker than vegetables. Like if you're just gonna have this like perfectly cooked egg with raw onions in it, seems insane to me.
I've made that omelet because of
Inexperience.
like, not paying much attention, and it's early in the morning. Yeah, inexperience. It's not a good omelet. Yeah, the raw
Okay.
omelet
All right.
sucks.
Let me refine this
I can
question.
attest
'Cause
to
I think
that.
this is triggering a couple different things. Number one is, how did you first cook eggs when you started cooking eggs? Because this goes to the uncooked vegetables with vegetables, or like, how did you first make an omelet? How are you making an omelet now? And how long did that take?
I think there's an even more preliminary question to this, which is what is an omelet? Because
It contains.
I think, yes, it contains eggs, but the question is, if it only contains eggs, can it still be an omelet?
I don't define it as an omelet unless it's got other stuff.
That's
Other than
my
that, you're just
take
eating
on it
eggs.
as well. But I think this may be a Atlantic Ocean problem. I have gotten into a lot of fights with my partner about what an omelet is, because to me, if it doesn't have filling, especially if it doesn't have cheese, an omelet really ought to have cheese plus vegetables and other things, or at least something, like at least some cheese. It has to have something in it. It has to have a filling. Otherwise, it's not an omelet.
Yeah, that's like saying I'm eating a sandwich, but the sandwich is just 2 pieces of bread.
Okay, I
Yeah,
think
that's technically a sandwich, sure. But it's also just called it's also just called bread. So yes, eggs, sure. So anyways, okay. So she likes to
call,
make
like,
omelets. So your partner likes to make omelets without ingredients. Okay, all right.
I'd
That's
call
fine.
that a plain scramble, like
right, but apparently that's
a smooth scramble.
if you make scrambled eggs, in the style that you would make an omelet, that's not scrambled eggs. Scrambled eggs specifically has to be like fluffed up in the pan
Okay.
to be scrambled eggs.
Now is your partner making what's called a French omelet?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know.
It's a very specific shape where it's rolled. It's a very specific rolled egg
Oh
shape.
no, I don't think she's doing that.
Okay,
It's almost like a crepe out of
yes,
egg.
yes, because that would be, I would say, call that an omelet because it takes a lot of effort. But okay, all right, let's move on. Okay, so John, all right,
I have 2 omelet circumstances. My homemade omelet, which is basically like the veggies I have in the fridge, right? So like it's maybe a little cheese, but mostly just like I'm trying to eat a little bit healthy, so it's like mostly just eating veggies and egg. And then my second omelet is if I am traveling for work and staying at a hotel that has like an in-hotel breakfast place, I get like the most excessive omelet I can, because it's all about those perks when you're doing work travel. So it's like, give me your fanciest of hams, give me your like your
chives,
sweetest of cheeses,
2 cheese,
Only the
chives,
fanciest of hams.
mushrooms, onions. Okay. All right.
Oh man, yeah. Just give me like fresh jalapenos. Give me the
Of
works.
course.
Give me
Of course,
2 omelets.
You and your jalapenos, Dennis. Of course, you and your.
Give me a side of bacon, like, because I am workman, and this is
Okay.
not something I have to pay for.
All right. Okay. John, let's go back to John. Now, John, you never answered for your omelet issue. And then we'll go to Yoder and then Mike.
I don't know. I think I'm with Dennis. I think I don't know if I ever met an omelet I didn't like. As long as the thing that gets screwed up is that people don't.
No, your everyday daily omelet. EDDO. What's your everyday daily omelet?
Everyday daily?
Or your everyday omelet. EDO.
Dude, everyday daily, that is your morning show. Everyday daily.
I do it every day. I don't know that I have a go-to omelet. I think it's just you got to have onions. You have to have cheese.
That's what I'm asking.
In a perfect world, I think you should have some kind of a cured meat product in there. But I'm not particular. I don't know.
Are you taking notes, Travis?
I'm curious. I haven't said what I like. David Yoder, what do you like?
I mean, I guess I got thrown off by the initial question. Like, I'm not much of an omelet cooker myself. I'll order an omelet at a restaurant, but my omelets I make at home are pretty pathetic, and so I'll leave it at that. But
what do you like to order then?
Main ingredient in an omelet, other than like cheese and some kind of meat, I like having a green pepper in there. That's always good for me.
Yeah.
If I'm going to a restaurant, it's usually going to be like whatever, like the southern or southwestern omelet type thing. Like I like a little bit of spicy in there. Maybe get some hot sauce with it.
You want it coming with salsa and sour cream on the side?
Yeah, that's okay. Salsa's kind of a weird mix with an omelet for me, but I still do like
that's getting into
southern.
huevos rancheros territory, which is a whole other thing, and also something I love and eat pretty often.
But you know that they sell. But you know those Southwest omelets come with salsa and sour cream oftentimes. But yeah.
Okay, anyway, that's my answer.
Gosh, it's been so long since I've done an omelet, Travis. I think my go-to right now is I make a breakfast burrito.
Yeah.
So I cook 6 slices of bacon in the oven. This is because I make 2. Because I make one for me and one for my wife. And then it's bed of beans, then rice, cheese, and then you watch the cheese melt on the plate, and then you add the eggs, which are probably scrambled for the burrito. And then the other thing I do is I put a fried egg over rice. And I love that because then you can add peppers, onions cooked, and it's fantastic. But I've kind of moved on from the omelet, which was when I did the omelet, old time Polly, I did the fold over style omelet. That's like just the classic where you do 3 eggs in the pan, put your ingredients on, wait for them to start to cook, and when they've cooked enough that you can fold it, then you do add the cheese and do the fold. Because I was really fixated on that Denny's style omelet for a long time. But anyway, where are you, Travis? Where are you at right now? Where were you? Where are you?
Yeah. Well, so at home, obviously, right now, I'm a pretty simple guy. I do 2 ingredients. One that you guys actually don't use, but I strongly recommend. So I'll do just 3 eggs. And then because making, chopping all these vegetables is kind of a pain in the morning when you're making the omelet, I just usually goes for cheese, but I use a seasoning called Fox Point Seasoning by Penzeys Spices. And it's leek and shallot and onion and garlic. Like it is the best substance known to man. So it's called Fox Point Seasoning, which does not sound like food. Okay, does not sound like food, but it's amazing. It's like the best sour cream and chive flavor you've ever had in your life, like ever in your life. Anyway, so that's what I flavor the eggs with, and then I use cheese with that. That's my home omelet situation.
Nice.
But when I go out, I would do cheese and bacon or bacon would be preferred as opposed to sausage or ham, but cheese. Mushrooms would be great. Green pepper, sure, whatever. Olives would be great in an omelet, but it's just been a long time since I've had an omelet out. But so my home omelet is a cheese omelet with the Fox Point seasoning from Penzeys Spices. Can't recommend enough.
Dude, that's a premium spice. I'm looking at this. Is it $32 for a jar? That's premium spice.
It's a large jar.
Shame him.
Marco Polo has to go all the way to China to get this thing, man.
Yeah.
That spice is so expensive, it might as well be spice.
All right, let's move on to themes and deep stuff.
Deep stuff.
To me, it's just like this episode really makes light of the whole social services thing and child protective services. Like what Dennis was saying about how they're kind of trying to paint this character as a villain. I don't know, I feel like we should be on her side more because she is interested in the safety of Dawn. I don't know, but like she's like not being very sympathetic about like to understand Buffy's situation, and I just can't imagine this person like having seen like much worse situation. Like if this is how she reacts to like this house, like from a place of like judgment and like looking down, it's like, lady, like you're not maybe in the right line of work. I don't know.
Yeah, thanks, Yoder.
I agree, Yoder. I think it would have been, I mean, obviously it's a TV show, so it's supposed to be funny, and this is like a bizarro episode. Like, I still can't wrap my head around it, but I agree. I feel like Buffy at the end should have just shown up at the social worker's place, you know, at the office, and just sat down and been like, hey, let me tell you my story, and talk about her mom and her kid, and then like just talk it out with this person. And I feel like that would have been really adult. That would have been like a super adult like transformation. Like Buffy needs to get that transformation to being adult. And that would have done it. But instead they went for funny.
The other theme in this episode, magic is drugs. You know, Willow goes through withdrawal. They really hit it pretty hard early on. And then they have Willow kind of, actually at this moment I don't think we talked about, where Xander accuses Willow of making Buffy invisible with no evidence, but like it probably is Willow is responsible. He's like, what did you do? How'd you do it? You know, like, let's undo it.
I did like Xander calling out there, like, we've literally all been cursed by you before multiple times.
So, I mean, yeah, that was a really lovely scene. And I like how Willow's defensive, and it's just a brilliant scene. And then she goes to solve, figuring out where the trio are without magic. And like that moment where she wants to reach for the computer because the loading is taking so long. Like, that is apparently a timeless joke. That works now because we all experienced that issue. So yeah, the magic as drugs. I mean, it's fun because, those come up as drugs to the social worker. Like, I don't know. And, she doesn't appear to be like having headaches or anything or like convulsing. Like, they really hit it much harder with the recovery part of that in the previous episode, where she's literally like a heroin addict. So I do appreciate that they kind of pulled back from that a little bit, but they could have gone all in, but clearly like they're moving on to a new storyline. They don't want us to focus on that. It's more Willow is a detective who solves crimes of the supernatural variety without magic. She uses her technological ability, which is similar in scope, whatever. But anyway, that was it. Magic is drugs.
I think that's all we got for themes and deep stuff. So why don't we move on to recommendations?
Recommendations.
It was actually really hard to pare down my recommendations because like we don't do invisible episodes very much, and there's so much invisible stuff. So anyway, I'm going to start with not where you think I'm going to start. I'm going to start with the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie because that's got the Invisible Girl in it. And
Have you seen this?
The Fantastic Four movies are terrible, and somehow the Roger Corman wasn't even meant to be released movie is the best one still after all these years.
That's not saying a lot. Like, it's not good,
but it's certainly better than any other Fantastic Four movie.
It is.
And then I'm gonna just you gotta do the original The Invisible Man. So I'm gonna do. There's so many Invisible Man movies. There's The Invisible Man Returns. There's like The Invisible Agent. It just keeps going. But so I'm just going to do the original Invisible Man with Claude Rains and then jump all the way to the new Elizabeth Moss version, which was really good. And I'm going to more heavily even recommend that. That movie was super strong and all about like gaslighting and domestic abuse as invisible issues. And then even though it doesn't actually involve becoming invisible, I'm going to recommend the movie The Invisible Ray, starring both Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi. I think this is the only movie they're both in where they both get to talk. Because in the Frankenstein movies, Boris doesn't talk. It's super good. It's about like radiation poisoning from a meteor, but it involves that's the Invisible Ray. Just because they keep saying Invisibility Ray in that movie, so I kept being like, Invisible Ray! And then the Paul Verhoeven Hollow Man, that was like the Invisible Man for our teenage years. And I mean, it's good because it's creepy. It gets very hard into the like what is creepy about being invisible. And then to lighten it up, I will recommend the beach movie, The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini, which also has Boris Karloff and Basil Rathbone, is like, a camp invisible movie. So that's what I've got. You should watch The Ghost in the Invisible Bikini. At least watch the trailer. It's fun. It's got Nancy Sinatra. It's a cheese fest,
I just thought of now if it's okay to add to kind of match with this episode how the invisibility is mostly for humor. I would say Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man.
Oh yeah,
call. Those are fun.
Now let's get into predictions.
Virgin predictions.
Okay, predictions. So, Michael, at present, you are at a 63.86% accuracy for Buffy overall. For season 6, your average is quite a bit higher at a 72.5%. So, in this episode, the few things that we might be able to address here. Okay. I see Dennis has highlighted some that I missed. Well done, Dennis. Thank you. Season 1, episode 11, Michael predicts that invisible assassins will make a comeback.
Marcy gets name checked in this episode.
Yep.
Does?
And even
does that
Anya
count as making a
even
comeback?
Anya is like, isn't a slayer, an invisible slayer, even more powerful and more dangerous? I feel like they're
Is
playing with this
Slayer just another kind of assassin?
I just feel like they're playing with this invisible assassin thing. They're referencing it.
Yeah.
I think we have to award it to him because they were trying to assassinate and kill Buffy, but they weren't assassins. Like they weren't.
That's
Warren
true.
is
But-
an invisible assassin.
You have to debate what an invisible assassin is, but I got
They tried to kill Willow as invisible assassins. Yeah. Or they kidnapped Willow.
Yeah,
Okay.
they were good.
I didn't think we were going to confirm this one, but yeah, I'm persuaded by these arguments. I think it sounds like we're going to confirm that one. Well done. So that is a season 1 prediction confirmed.
It's been a long
Six.
time since we brought up season
It's
1.
been a long road. Okay, all right. So in season 2, episode 12, Michael predicted Buffy will not have children. So as a legal guardian, right?
Yeah, we have
She
total
has
confirmation she is
children.
the legal guardian of Dawn.
Yeah.
Spike calls her the mother.
Yeah, she's a good
Yeah.
mom.
The question is, do we interpret children as biological children, or is guardianship sufficient to say that Buffy has children?
I've also made this argument multiple times that Dawn is the biological child of Buffy,
Right.
but I will get
That's
away
a little
from that
bit
right now.
hairier argument. Yeah. What does it mean to have children?
I've
Because
always
certainly
argued Dawn is Buffy's kid. And
Certainly, if Buffy were a more traditional adoptive parent, that we would say that she has children, right? So it's not, biology isn't really the issue here. She has legal guardianship. She is acting in a motherly role in multiple ways.
I feel like since legally she's been considered, like, I don't know, you almost have to, like, say that, like, yes, Dawn is her child. Because Dawn, this whole episode is about the threat of Dawn being taken away and that she would
Right.
no longer be her child. Right? Sorry
Is it really
to-
about that threat, or is it about having fun being invisible?
I mean, it's about multiple things.
I just my only pause here is that the phrase "have children," when you say someone has children, it implies that someone's given birth.
That is literally what I intended, and I could go get the record.
If that's literally, then we have to go by literal. That
but
precedent.
that's
has
not
always been set.
literally what.
Literal intentions? No.
Well, to have children
Such thing as
can
a
be
literal intention.
to have children is a literal phrase. Like it's a literal.
Yeah,
there is a
yes.
literal
Yes.
depiction of having children.
Yes.
So the prediction should be Buffy will not give birth to a child? Is that what do you
I
mean?
probably
Yeah.
didn't say give birth because it sounds gross to say it.
Yeah.
I think we leave this one open.
We leave this
I
open,
do
bro.
think that I can accept that have children means in this case to parent a child. In terms
I'm gonna
of
just
giving-
To give
write
birth.
in parentheses give birth on that one because so it doesn't come up.
Son of a bitch.
No, I do not like the no. the precedent set by retroactively editing.
We're going to argue about this at the end of season 7. If he doesn't we're all going to forget we had this conversation. he needs just to put the things in there so we don't have the same conversation in 9 months.
I'm adding a new column for notes so that we can keep notes separate in the predictions spreadsheet, separate from the original prediction.
It might break the
notes or intention.
Yeah, you can.
Well,
that's fine.
It should be important that if we've made like preliminary rulings on a case, yeah, fine. I've been arguing about this for so long. As soon as Mike made that prediction, I was like, I was like, ha, 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 ha. In 3 years, Don's gonna show up and be, and then I'm gonna make this argument.
In 3 years.
I was trying to be on your side there. I mean, that's how I see it with this episode, at least. But
That's so funny.
Okay, so I think we're gonna leave that one open because we're going to interpret that having children means giving birth in this case. Season 4, episode 9, Michael makes the prediction that Spike will make exactly one joke about the time that he and Buffy planned their wedding together in season 4. So I think, this is something blue. There's a moment in this episode where Buffy and Spike are having a little back and forth, and Spike is teasing her by giving her a lot of pet names. And I think you can make the argument that he's making a reference here to the cutesy pet names that they gave each other in this episode in season 4. Anybody think that that's a reference to that episode?
I didn't, but
yeah, I don't think it is, only because it's not the exact cute names. It's just different pet names. It seems to be they've forgotten that episode completely, which you'd think they'd bring it up about at least once.
I mean, well,
given what's going on now, but
Xander did bring up that they'd all been cursed by her, by Willow.
Right. True.
Which is vaguely a reference to that, but also a reference to many other episodes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, season 5, episode 21. Michael predicts that Faith will not be invited to Xander and Anya's wedding. I think we might have to leave this one open. So we do have the screenshot of the wedding there, and Faith's name is nowhere to be seen. And probably this is going to be confirmed. I think we have to leave this one maybe open for now, because only because the image that I was able to grab was not a complete image. There are people out of frame on the seating chart that we don't know who they are. For all we know, Faith could be the one person sitting at the table with Dawn. Could just be a Dawn and Faith table.
Faith is still in prison.
Yeah.
I feel like it would go smoother to stick to the demon traditions for the wedding than to have Faith at the wedding.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure this one we'll be able to confirm at some point. I mean, it seems logical, but I think we leave it open for now, just because I can't, based on the basis of this episode, I don't think, just because the screenshot was incomplete.
I would love some fan fiction, like Wedding Crashers style fan fiction, with like Faith crashing Xander's wedding and like having to break out of prison to crash her ex-lover's wedding.
That'd be amazing.
Season 6, episode 2. What's that?
I said, there's our script right there.
Season 6, episode 2. Michael predicts Buffy will forgive Willow for resurrecting her. Dennis, why did you highlight this one?
Well, because at the end of this episode, Buffy finally seems to come to some sort of acceptance about being alive.
True.
Which is
okay.
her major struggle she's been having since being resurrected. She realizes she does, in fact, want to live. And she reflects all this directly to Willow. She's talking to Willow about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get the point now, but like I feel like it came close and it was like worth like bringing up.
I would actually consider confirming this one. I feel like that actually makes sense. I'm persuaded by that argument. Anybody object to confirming this one? Okay. We're going to go ahead and confirm that one. That's a second confirmation.
Well, if we're going to do that, we should go ahead and deny that having children thing, right?
Season 6, episode 10. There will be no consequences for Willow stealing/destroying a car. The reason I bring this one up here is because it's very clear that Dawn is keeping a grudge about it, which I feel like is in and of itself a consequence. That the damage to the relationship between Willow and Dawn is measurable.
Yeah.
And that therefore that in and of itself is a consequence. What do you guys think about that?
I agree. I mean, Dawn is literally like walking around with her arm in a sling this whole episode. That's a consequence.
I know Mike totally meant like the legal consequences of at least looking for a stolen car.
It says no consequences, Travis.
Yeah.
Dawn also seems more annoyed at Buffy than she does with Willow this episode.
True. But again, the relationship is clearly damaged.
Fine, let's just deny it. And
okay.
Jeez.
Season 6, episode 10, Michael predicts Willow isn't giving up magic. I wanted to discuss this one in terms of whether or not she was magicking the DMV screen, but it sounds like everybody is in agreement that she was not. That's just me being weird. So that one stays open. We don't know whether or not she will use magic again in the future. Okay, so that looks like...
That also seems like a rough thing. Like, if she uses magic once, that means she's not giving it up. Like, if she makes an honest effort to still, like, not use magic, like you know, like, you can have an addiction problem and you can slip once, but then, like... sorry.
She's an addict, Yoder. She's an addict, you know? She can't stop.
Okay, so that's 2 confirmations and 1 denial, which brings your overall accuracy up to a 63.88. And your accuracy for season 6, I believe, comes down to a 72.09.
Great. Well, I have more predictions because let's just keep making them. All right, prediction 1. I believe that at least one member of the trio is going back to the arcade. And I'm mentioning it as the arcade from season 6, episode 11. You would think that they shouldn't, like they've been shamed, but they love arcades. One of this trio members going back there. 2, Spike and Buffy are going to go as dates to Xander and Anya's wedding. That might make Spike into a wedding crasher, but Spike is going to that wedding. 3, we'll meet Uncle Rory at Xander and Anya's wedding. Uncle Rory Ayadori. And then 4, this is another John's curse. Someone will use an iPod on Buffy.
That does seem inevitable, doesn't it? I have no idea if it does happen or not. That does seem inevitable.
It's like
When
right
did
How
now.
many
iPod
Apple
come out?
products we see.
And then if they use an iPod Nano instead of, like, just an iPod Classic or something, you guys will debate if it counts for
We'll have
the...
a really fun discussion about
She used an MP3 player. That's not an iPod. You can't count that.
Oh, that's a very good point. It could just be an MP3 player, but I'm going to say an
But
iPod.
this show is very Apple, right?
Totally. Gen 1 iPod. 5, this is my super prediction. Something like super here. Somebody will come forward during Anya's wedding, during the speak now, forever hold your peace part. And, I don't know what will ensue. Probably comedy. But someone will come forward. Probably some old demon, but I don't want to say who. Because it could be Faith, and that would be amazing. But it's probably not Faith.
What a twist.
It's such a, like, TV or movie thing, like, to have someone actually, like, bring up a complaint at that point in the wedding, like, versus reality, how many times that happens.
Yeah, I don't know what that moment's called. There's definitely a name for it.
All right, guys. David Yoder, where can people find your shit, and what is your shit about?
My shit is not invisible. It is usually comics related, and sometimes movie related. I'm on the Twitters as Awesome Yoder, and so that's the word awesome in my last name, Yoder, Yoder.
You can find me online at Dennis Comics. That's Dennis with one N, Comics with an X, DenisComix. That's my Instagram, my Twitter, my .com. You can buy my monster-themed mini comics on my, everywhere. And my Patreon is Dennis St. John, DenisStJohn. If you want to read my monster comics and my dream comics and see my dinosaur illustrations, all that shit.
The dream comics have been pretty fun lately, Dennis, gotta say.
Thank you. Thank you one and all for listening and talking to us at Buffy Virgin. Don't forget to rate us and review us and subscribe and all that stuff. You can watch us on YouTube. Our Twitter is Buffy Virgin Pod. Our Instagram is Buffy Virgin.